What if everything you've been doing to make him love you is the very thing that's preventing him from valuing you? Stay with me because by the end of this video, you'll understand the one thing men never forget. Many women quietly believe that if they just do enough for a man, he'll naturally realize their value. They cook his favorite meals, check on him throughout the day, remember every important date, support him through difficult times, and often put his needs ahead of their own. Their intentions come from a genuine place of love and care. Yet after all that effort, they sometimes find themselves wondering why they still don't feel appreciated in the way they expected. The answer is often surprising because attraction and appreciation don't always grow through sacrifice alone. Think about it from a different perspective. Imagine someone constantly giving without ever asking for anything in return. At first, those gestures feel thoughtful and meaningful. Over time, however, they can quietly become part of the routine. Human beings naturally adapt to what becomes consistent. It's not necessarily because they're ungrateful. It's because the mind quickly turns repeated experiences into expectations. What once felt extraordinary slowly begins to feel normal. This is why many women become frustrated. They assume the more they give, the more valuable they'll become in his eyes. But relationships don't work like a scoreboard where every kind act earns another point toward love. A man may sincerely appreciate your kindness while still not feeling a deeper emotional attachment, because appreciation and emotional investment are two different things. Gratitude says, "Thank you for what you did." Emotional connection says, "I can't imagine my life without you." Those are not created in the same way. Consider how often people remember experiences rather than tasks. A man may forget who always reminded him about appointments or who solved every small problem for him. What stays with him much longer is how he felt in your presence. Did he feel understood? Did he feel respected? Did he feel accepted for who he was? Those emotional experiences create a lasting impact that practical favors alone rarely achieve. There's another reason this pattern can become unhealthy. Sometimes, without realizing it, a woman begins using effort as a way to earn love. She believes that if she keeps proving her value, eventually he'll recognize everything she's done and commit more deeply. Unfortunately, love doesn't usually grow because someone worked harder than everyone else. Healthy relationships develop when two people freely choose to invest in one another, not when one person constantly tries to deserve affection through endless giving. That doesn't mean acts of kindness are unimportant. They absolutely matter. Caring for someone, supporting them, and showing generosity are beautiful parts of a healthy relationship. The problem begins when those actions replace emotional connection instead of strengthening it. If you're always doing something for him, but rarely allowing him to know the real you, the relationship can become centered on service instead of intimacy. It's also worth asking an honest question. Is he noticing your efforts, or has he simply become accustomed to them? There's a difference. A thoughtful man may genuinely appreciate what you do, but if everything comes too easily and requires no effort from him, he may stop recognizing just how much you're contributing. Not because he's intentionally ignoring you, but because people often value most what they actively participate in building. This is why balance is so important. A healthy relationship isn't about one person constantly carrying the emotional weight while the other receives the benefits. It grows stronger when both people contribute, support each other, and feel equally responsible for nurturing the connection. When effort flows in only one direction, exhaustion eventually replaces joy. So if you've been measuring your worth by everything you've done for a man, it may be time to change the question. Instead of asking, "How much more can I give?" ask yourself, are we creating a relationship where we both invest emotionally? That shift changes everything. Because while a man may certainly notice your actions, the thing that ultimately holds the greatest value isn't how much you sacrifice. It's the emotional experience he shares with you. And understanding that difference is the first step toward building a relationship based on mutual appreciation rather than one-sided effort. One of the most common misunderstandings in relationships is the belief that being available all the time will make someone feel more connected to you. It sounds logical at first, If you're always there to answer his calls, adjust your schedule, cancel your own plans, and make him your highest priority, surely he'll recognize your devotion and value you even more. Yet in many cases, the opposite quietly begins to happen. Constant availability can unintentionally remove the sense of balance that healthy attraction depends on. This doesn't mean you should become distant or play games. It means there's a significant difference between being emotionally present and making your entire world revolve around someone else. A woman who has her own goals, friendships, passions, and sense of purpose brings something powerful into a relationship. She isn't difficult to reach because she's trying to create mystery. She's simply living a full life, and the relationship becomes an important part of that life rather than the center of it. Men often admire women who respect themselves enough to protect their own time and energy. Healthy boundaries communicate something important without saying a single word. They quietly say, I value my life, and I expect the people in it to value it too. That kind of confidence is very different from arrogance. It's calm, secure, and deeply attractive because it reflects emotional stability instead of emotional dependence. Imagine two different situations. In the first, a woman immediately drops everything whenever a man sends a message. She rearranges her schedule, ignores her own needs, and feels anxious if he doesn't respond quickly. In the second, a woman is warm, caring, and genuinely interested, but she also keeps her commitments, enjoys her own hobbies, and doesn't abandon herself to maintain the relationship. Which dynamic is more likely to inspire long-term respect? Most people naturally appreciate someone who values themselves enough to maintain balance. Another reason boundaries matter is that they encourage mutual effort. If one person is always doing all the adjusting, the relationship can quietly become one-sided. The other person may begin expecting that level of availability without realizing how much sacrifice it requires. Not because they're intentionally selfish, but because people often adapt to whatever becomes normal. Healthy relationships stay healthy when both individuals make room for each other instead of one person doing all the accommodating. There's also an emotional message behind endless availability that many people never intend to send. Sometimes it can suggest that you don't have much else bringing you fulfillment. Whether that's true or not, perception matters. Confidence is often communicated through the way someone protects their own priorities. When you continue growing, learning, spending time with loved ones, and pursuing meaningful goals, you demonstrate that your happiness isn't entirely dependent on one person's attention. This creates a healthier kind of attraction because it removes pressure from the relationship. Instead of feeling responsible for your entire emotional world, he gets sometimes the greatest obstacle to finding real love isn't a lack of kindness. It's believing that kindness has to be earned through constant effort. Many women enter relationships with the quiet hope that if they keep giving, supporting, understanding, and sacrificing, one day a man will finally realize how valuable they are. While those actions come from a caring heart, they can also create an exhausting cycle where love starts to feel like something that must be worked for, instead of something that is built together. The problem begins when generosity becomes a strategy rather than a natural expression of affection. Instead of asking, are we creating a healthy connection? The focus shifts to, what else can I do to make him choose me? That small change in thinking has a powerful effect. Every thoughtful gesture becomes another attempt to prove worth instead of simply sharing love. Over time, the relationship starts feeling less like a partnership and more like an endless performance. Real emotional connection doesn't grow because one person keeps doing more. It grows because both people gradually become more open, more honest, and more emotionally invested. Think about the relationships that leave the deepest impact on people's lives. They're rarely remembered because someone always paid for dinner or solved every problem. They're remembered because both people felt understood, accepted, appreciated, and emotionally safe with each other. That's why authenticity matters so much. When you're constantly trying to impress someone, you're often hiding the very person they need to know. You become focused on meeting every expectation, avoiding conflict, and making sure they're happy. while your own thoughts, needs, and personality slowly move into the background. Ironically, the more you hide your authentic self in order to keep someone interested, the harder it becomes for them to form a genuine connection with the real you. Healthy relationships also allow room for imperfection. You don't have to be the perfect partner every single day to be deeply loved. You don't have to solve every problem, anticipate every need, or carry every emotional burden. In fact, trying to appear perfect can create emotional distance because perfection leaves very little room for honesty. Real intimacy develops when two people feel comfortable being human around each other. Another common mistake is confusing being needed with being loved. If a man depends on you to organize his life, fix his problems, or constantly reassure him, that doesn't automatically mean the emotional connection is strong. Dependence and love are not the same thing. Someone can rely heavily on your efforts without truly building the kind of partnership that leads to lasting happiness. Genuine love includes appreciation, respect, emotional closeness, and a willingness to invest equally. Shared experiences often create stronger bonds than endless acts of service. Laughing together, overcoming challenges as a team, having meaningful conversations, supporting each other's dreams, and creating memories side by side build a foundation that practical favors alone cannot replace. Those moments become the emotional glue that keeps two people connected long after the excitement of the early stages has faded. It's equally important to give a man the opportunity to contribute. When one person insists on doing everything, the other loses chances to show care, effort, and commitment. Relationships become stronger when both partners feel that they're adding value to each other's lives. Allowing someone to invest in you isn't selfish. It's an essential part of creating balance and mutual appreciation. Instead of wondering whether you've done enough to deserve love, consider a different question altogether. Ask whether the relationship allows both of you to feel seen, heard, respected, and emotionally connected. That's where lasting love is built. Not through endless sacrifices designed to earn affection, but through honest conversations, shared vulnerability, mutual effort, and the confidence to believe that your value isn't something you have to constantly prove. When connection replaces performance, love no longer feels like a reward for working harder. It becomes the natural result of two people choosing each other every single day. A relationship becomes much stronger when both people feel they are actively building it together. One of the biggest misconceptions about love is that doing everything for someone will automatically make them value the relationship more. While kindness and support are essential, emotional investment works differently. People naturally feel more connected to what they personally invest their time, energy, and emotions into. That's why a man often becomes more emotionally attached when he feels like he's choosing the relationship every day instead of simply benefiting from everything you provide. Imagine planting a tree. If only one person waters it, protects it, and takes care of it, while the other simply enjoys the shade, who is likely to feel the deeper connection to that tree? Usually, it's the person who invested the effort. Relationships often follow a similar pattern. The more someone contributes emotionally, the more meaningful that connection becomes to them. Investment creates attachment because people value what they've helped build. This doesn't mean you should stop being thoughtful or caring. It simply means that love shouldn't become one person's full-time responsibility. When a woman constantly plans every date, solves every problem, initiates every conversation, and carries all the emotional weight, she unintentionally removes opportunities for the man to participate. Over time, the relationship can begin to feel unbalanced, not because either person intended it, but because one person became the builder while the other became the observer. A healthy partnership allows both people to experience the satisfaction of giving. A man who genuinely cares usually wants to make your life better too. He wants to support you when you're stressed, celebrate your achievements, remember the things that matter to you, and make an effort to bring happiness into your life. If he never gets the chance to do those things, because you're always doing everything first, an important part of emotional bonding can be lost. There's another reason this matters. When someone works towards something, they naturally become more committed to protecting it. Think about friendships, careers, or personal goals. The things you've invested the most time and effort into often become the things you value the most. Relationships are no different. A man who consistently invests his attention, time, honesty, and care is usually creating a stronger emotional attachment because he's becoming an active participant rather than a passive recipient. Many women hesitate to let a man contribute because they don't want to appear needy or they fear being disappointed. So they take on every responsibility themselves. While that may feel safer in the short term, it can prevent the relationship from developing true balance. Allowing someone to show up for you isn't weakness, it's trust. It gives the other person an opportunity to demonstrate their character through consistent actions rather than words alone. Mutual effort also creates mutual appreciation. When both people understand what it takes to maintain the relationship, gratitude naturally grows. They recognize each other's sacrifices, celebrate each other's contributions, and feel like they're moving toward the same future together. That shared responsibility builds a much stronger foundation than one-sided giving ever could. It's important to understand that investment isn't measured only by money or grand romantic gestures. Sometimes the most meaningful investments are much quieter. Making time after a long day, remembering important conversations, showing up when you need support, introducing you to the important people in his life, or working through disagreements with maturity are all forms of emotional investment. These actions demonstrate that he isn't just enjoying the relationship, he's actively helping create it. If you find yourself constantly wondering why your efforts aren't being matched, it may be time to step back and observe rather than work harder. Ask yourself whether he's being given room to contribute or whether you've unintentionally taken responsibility for everything. A healthy relationship should never feel like a one-person performance. It should feel like two people choosing each other through consistent effort, shared responsibility, and genuine care. Ultimately, lasting love isn't built by one person carrying the entire relationship on their shoulders. It's built when both people willingly invest, both people grow, and both people feel proud of what they've created together. That's the kind of connection that stands the test of time because it belongs equally to both hearts. Not just one. Years after a relationship ends, people are often surprised by what they actually remember. It's rarely a detailed list of favors, gifts, or daily routines. Instead, what lingers in the mind are the emotions attached to those moments. A man may forget who always packed his lunch or reminded him about important appointments, but he rarely forgets the woman who made him feel genuinely understood, respected, inspired, and accepted. That's because human memory is deeply connected to emotion, not just action. This doesn't mean that thoughtful gestures have no value. They absolutely do. Acts of kindness can strengthen a relationship and show genuine care. The mistake happens when someone believes those actions alone are enough to create lasting emotional significance. Relationships become memorable not because of how many things one person did, but because of how both people felt while they were together. Think about your own life for a moment. When you remember someone who had a positive impact on you, your first thought probably isn't about a specific favor they did years ago. More often, you remember how comfortable you felt around them, how they listened without judgment, how they encouraged you during difficult times, or how they made ordinary moments feel meaningful. Emotions leave impressions that practical tasks simply cannot match. The same principle applies in romantic relationships. A man is far more likely to remember the peace he felt after talking to you than every problem you solved for him. He'll remember the confidence you inspired when you believed in him during moments of self-doubt. He'll remember laughing together until neither of you could breathe or feeling completely accepted without having to pretend to be someone else. Those emotional experiences become part of his personal story, and stories are remembered much longer than routines. Respect is one of the strongest emotions a relationship can create. When a man feels respected, he often feels safe enough to be authentic. He doesn't have to constantly defend himself or prove his worth. That emotional safety allows deeper connection to develop. In the same way, when a woman feels respected, she becomes more open, trusting, and emotionally available. Mutual respect creates an environment where love can grow naturally instead of feeling forced. Acceptance has a similar effect. Every person has insecurities, flaws, and fears they rarely show the world. When someone feels accepted despite those imperfections, they experience a level of emotional comfort that's difficult to replace. That doesn't mean ignoring unhealthy behavior or lowering standards. It means creating a relationship where both people feel free to be honest without fearing constant criticism or rejection. Another emotion that leaves a lasting mark is inspiration. The healthiest relationships don't just make people feel loved, they help them become better versions of themselves. A man often remembers the woman who encouraged him to pursue his goals, challenged him to grow, celebrated his progress, and believed in his potential even when he doubted himself. Those experiences stay with him because they become connected to his own personal growth. This is also why emotional presence matters so much. Being fully engaged during conversations, listening with genuine interest, sharing meaningful experiences, and making someone feel truly seen often have a greater impact than expensive gifts or endless acts of service. Presence communicates value in a way that material things rarely can. It tells the other person, "You matter enough for me to give you my attention," and attention is one of the most meaningful gifts anyone can offer. As relationships mature, people naturally forget many of the everyday details. They may not remember who cooked dinner on a particular Tuesday or who sent the first message after every disagreement. What remains are the emotional patterns. Did the relationship bring peace or constant anxiety? Did it create encouragement or criticism? Did it feel like home or like a place where someone always had to earn love? Those emotional impressions become the memories that last long after specific events have faded. Perhaps that's the most important lesson of all. If your goal is to build a relationship that stands the test of time, don't focus only on doing more. Focus on creating experiences that leave both of you feeling valued, respected, understood, and emotionally connected. Those are the moments that people carry with them for years. Because in the end, a man may not remember every single thing you did for him, but he'll almost always remember how deeply he felt when he was with you. By now, one truth should be becoming clear. The women who are valued the most are not necessarily the ones who sacrifice the most. They're the ones who understand that a healthy relationship is built through mutual respect, emotional connection, and shared effort. They don't measure their worth by how much they can give. Instead, they recognize that lasting love grows when two people willingly choose each other, again and again. A high-value woman doesn't spend her time asking, "What can I do to make him love me?" She asks a much healthier question. Is this relationship allowing both of us to bring out the best in each other? That small shift in mindset changes everything. Instead of chasing approval, she focuses on building a connection where both partners feel appreciated, respected, and emotionally fulfilled. One of the strongest qualities she possesses is self-respect. She doesn't confuse self-respect with being cold, distant, or difficult. She can be deeply loving, incredibly supportive, and genuinely kind while still protecting her own emotional well-being. She understands that saying yes to every request, ignoring her own needs, or constantly overextending herself doesn't create stronger love. In many cases, it creates exhaustion and imbalance. She also understands that love cannot be forced through performance. She doesn't believe she has to earn affection by being perfect or by constantly proving her value. She knows that the right relationship allows her to relax into her authentic self. She laughs freely, speaks honestly, expresses her opinions respectfully, and isn't afraid to let her real personality be seen. Authenticity creates deeper attraction than perfection ever could because people connect with real human beings, not carefully crafted performances. Another important difference is that she allows a man the opportunity to invest. She doesn't insist on carrying every responsibility or solving every problem herself. She understands that contribution creates connection. When a man chooses to make time, show consistency, offer support, and demonstrate commitment through his own actions, the relationship becomes something he actively helps build. That shared investment strengthens emotional attachment in ways that one-sided effort never can. She also pays close attention to actions instead of becoming lost in words alone. Compliments are nice. Promises can sound beautiful. But consistent behavior is what truly reveals someone's intentions. A high-value woman doesn't ignore repeated inconsistency simply because someone says the right things. She watches whether respect, honesty, effort, and reliability continue over time. Those qualities form the foundation of trust, and trust is far more valuable than temporary excitement. Equally important, she doesn't lose herself inside the relationship. She continues growing as an individual. She maintains friendships, pursues goals, develops new skills, and creates a fulfilling life that exists both inside and outside of romance. This isn't about making someone chase her. It's about understanding that personal growth benefits every area of life, including relationships. When two emotionally healthy people come together, they add to each other's happiness rather than expecting one person to become the entire source of it. She also accepts a truth that many people resist. Not every relationship is meant to last forever. If someone consistently fails to appreciate her, refuses to invest, or expects endless sacrifice without offering the same in return, she doesn't spend years trying to convince them of her worth. She understands that love should never require abandoning her dignity. Walking away from an unhealthy dynamic isn't giving up. It's making space for a healthier one. This mindset creates something incredibly attractive without trying to manufacture attraction. Confidence rooted in self-worth has a quiet strength. It doesn't need constant validation because it isn't built on someone else's approval. A woman who values herself naturally encourages others to value her as well, not because she demands it, but because her actions consistently reflect it. As this conversation comes to a close, remember the central lesson behind everything we've explored. Men certainly notice many of the thoughtful things women do for them, but those actions alone are rarely what determine lasting value. What truly shapes a meaningful relationship is emotional connection, mutual respect, balanced effort, and the willingness of both people to invest wholeheartedly. The strongest relationships aren't built by one person giving endlessly while the other simply receives. They're built by two people choosing each other with consistency, appreciation, and genuine care. When that balance exists, love no longer feels like something that has to be earned. It becomes something both people are grateful to protect every single day.